In terms of customer experience in ride-hailing, it's even stronger than in other industries. That's a service and customer support and experience you don't want to notice. So sometimes customer experience is a key advantage. You go somewhere for the customer experience. Here, you go for speed, for convenience, prices, for smooth and running transactions, and less of frictions you have there, the better. I do believe that the best customer support is the one which was never contacted.
Welcome back to How to Have a Customer, the show where we dive into the wild, weird, and sometimes wonderful world of customer experience. I'm Mikhail Dubov, co-founder and CEO at Chattermill, and in each episode, I interview the leaders from amazing companies who understand that customer experience, customer interactions, even the messy ones, are the moments of truth. And today, our guest is someone we've worked with for a number of years, and someone I wanted to interview for a very long time, Olga Ivanova, Senior Director for Customer Experience at inDrive. Olga, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
It's great, really great to have you. I think we are going to have a very fascinating chat about the industry of ride-hailing. But before we dive into the customer story you bring us today, can you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get into customer experience?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it was never planned. So I never had plans that I will have a career in customer experience. I do have a management degree and things like this, and I found myself in consulting, in operations, and it was always something which was changing quite quickly, with a lot of messy interactions, problems, and so on. And diving into operations actually naturally brought me into support, into customer experience, into customer service, because actually if you want to know how your product actually works, you have it all right there. And I think the last 8 years, I'm in customer service and customer experience.
Yeah, I don't think any single one of my guests said that they plan to be in customer experience. It almost always happens by accident.
You kind of end up there by accident.
So for you, it was starting with solving problems, and then you realize the problems that matter are in kind of operations and so on. And I guess that is specifically true about the industry you're in today. So I'm really fascinated about inDrive. I've been kind of studying this company from afar for a number of years now. I don't know if a lot of our listeners, though, are familiar with it. Everyone knows Uber, of course. Some know Lyft and maybe a few others. But inDrive is actually a huge player in the space, that maybe like the biggest player that you've never heard of.
Yeah, the second most downloadable app.
Exactly, right? So can you tell us first maybe a little bit of the kind of history of the company and maybe what it is today?
Yeah, actually, inDrive started a rather long time ago, and it started in Yakutsk in Russia. It's like it's a faraway place. It's very cold there, like minus 42 degrees during the winters. And it started on the day like this. It was very cold, and taxi drivers decided to unite and raise prices. And it was kind of a, people and student movement to create a platform, not even a platform, just, Facebook group to bargain about the prices. So basically, people were not even bargaining, they were offering to take a lift or asking for a ride to certain directions and offering to pay for that. That's how it started. So basically, it started with people being empowered to fight unjust prices.
Right. And can you tell us a little bit about what the company became today? So,
Yeah.
I know you operate in like very interesting markets all around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, right now, basically the idea stayed the same. So inDrive, Credo and Super Mission is challenging injustice by giving people the fair choices. And right now, the company operates on 48 markets all over the world, and it's a very interesting combination of markets. We're very present in LATAM. We are very strong in APAC, in MENA. So we're not so we're not in Europe, but all over the globe, in some places, inDrive is number one.
So this kind of focus on emerging markets.
Yeah, it's focusing on emerging markets.
And what makes inDrive kind of different to all the other brands in the space?
Actually, the price mechanism, this fairness in pricing. In inDrive, it's about not having pricing algorithm which will, dictate the price, adjust demand depending on demand and supply. inDrive kept the DNA of allowing riders and drivers to set their own prices. So still, that's a bidding platform. Drivers and riders are proposing the prices to each other, and driver is free to take the ride or not to take the ride, and also rider can choose what price and what driver he or she wants to have a ride with today.
Yeah, so I think every two-sided marketplace that we deal with always has a bit of a conflict between the two sides. But in your case, because of this pricing mechanism, it's probably even more pronounced. And I think the story you bring us today will be a little bit about that, right?
Yeah, it will be a little bit about that.
So we'll kind of dive into that in a second. But I just want to ask, given you spent years now working in different ride-hailing markets, right?
5 of them, actually.
5 of them, yeah, right? So probably one of the most experienced people in the world on this topic. So what do you think most people maybe miss or don't know about this kind of the difficulty of building fantastic customer experience in this space?
Actually, when I think about it, in terms of customer experience in ride-hailing, it's even stronger than in other industries. That's a service and customer support and experience you don't want to notice. So sometimes customer experience is a key advantage. You go somewhere for the customer experience. Here, you go for speed, for convenience, for prices, for smooth and running transactions, and less of frictions you have there, the better. And I generally, like in my CX credo, I do believe that the best customer support is the one which was never contacted. But in case of ride-hailing, it's even more true. So like everyone wants just to be from A to B safely, soundly, quickly, no friction.
Very interesting. Yeah. No, there are definitely some other spaces that we talk to where people actually do want to contact the customer support people, maybe not customer support as such, but kind of ambassadors and all that. But it's I think I agree. In ride-hailing, you sort of want the more sort of textbook seamless customer experience,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into the anecdote that you bring us. So what happened and what made it a story that you'll never forget?
Usually, I can't share those stories which I will never forget, and it's unfortunately NDA stands for all the companies, even if I don't work with them anymore. But I want to share it's a very, very frequent case. And we, as a customer support, we face it nearly all the time, and it's always challenging, especially if the company's DNA is to be as fair as possible. So we are, we're a two-sided marketplace. So there is a driver, there is a rider, and sometimes if there is two parties, there can be and there will be a conflict. And often they do have different interests. So the very typical situation is when we get complaint from rider, for example, the driver was rude or behaving inappropriately or done something misbehaved. Let's call it like this, misbehaved. So we get a complaint, and at the same time, basically you always have the second side. You always have the second side of the story. And this second side can contact support, can not contact support, but he or she is always there. So the recent case would be, we got a complaint from rider. The driver was rude, and the rider was asking to block the driver, and was very, very, very angry. We've taken this complaint, and we have the protocols that we always contact the driver. We contacted the driver. The driver did not contact the support.
Just to get the second side.
Just to get the second side. And it appeared to be that this, from the words of driver, this particular rider ran away without paying. And it's not always the case, but sometimes when people do something like this, they try to put the situation in a way that something wrong happened to them.
Right.
Not their wrong behavior.
So they don't get blocked.
So they don't get penalized.
I think maybe important to clarify for the users that inDrive is a bit different to Uber, that like a lot of payments happen in cash, right?
Yes.
When the ride actually happens, right? So on Uber, you can't really like run away without paying in most markets, at least.
In most markets, when I was working in Uber a long time ago in Russia, we had cash payments, and in support we had a separate tag, cash runners. It was called cash runners. It was very funny.
Yep. So that happens.
That happens.
In a lot of markets that you operate.
And that's and basically most important here that as a customer support agent, you can't fully believe neither driver nor rider. Because you haven't been there, you can't check, so you can't pay attention to the level of emotions and to the level of arguments. You can just, be in a situation when one side says one story, and other side, there's a different side of a story. And it's always very, very challenging for support agents. And we're putting in, they have to be fair, but people are subjective. And we're putting them in a very difficult situation to decide who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah, because they were obviously not there, right?
Yeah, they were obviously not there.
And it's hard. And I think we've seen definitely, like when we work, for example, with finance firms, right, banks and so on, that people who scream the loudest about fraud are typically fraudsters. Yeah, not always.
But not always. Sometimes they just
quite
annoyed.
Often, yeah.
And when I'm talking about this like that, it looks like an unsolvable issue. Yeah. And also there are additional questions, like what if that was a rider who had only his first or second ride, so wasn't really interacting with the platform? What if the driver is a platinum driver and this driver is doing a lot of rides with inDrive
and good rating?
Yeah, and has a good rating and so on. So actually a lot of different factors. And what we're doing here we actually believe that we need to empower our agents in order to be just, not with freedom, but with kind of a decision-making algorithm. So we're trying to give them agency, not to judge.
Right.
And we develop kind of a framework where agent just gathers the information. So, for example, this side says that, this side says that, and it puts this information and different factors within the model. And then this model, on a bigger data than agent has, actually decides what should be done in this particular case. Of course, here I'm talking more about, minor cases. We're not talking about anything serious here because
like proper crimes.
Yes, like proper crimes, because process will be quite different. We're talking about this minor,
like someone was rude, right?
Yes,
exactly. It's not breaking the law.
Exactly. And it allows us to predict with higher level of objectivity what actions we should be doing in each particular case. For example, if there are a lot of unverified complaints, probably there's something wrong in the behavior of driver, and driver needs to know about it. Or vice versa. If a rider always complains, maybe something is wrong there.
Okay, so you developed this kind of like conflict resolution model.
Yeah,
that could come very useful, I think, in a lot of cases.
Yeah, exactly. We have right now we have 7 factors, but it can be adjusted.
And I guess that includes like what each party actually said about the case, right? Like,
it includes.
It's not just like the rating and.
No. It includes what the party says about the cases. It includes the ratings, includes the number of right, includes previous behavior, includes the fact whether there were complaints like this or not. So quite a lot of factors. But agent is not inputting all these factors.
I guess a lot of them are automated.
Yeah, exactly. So agent is just inputting what the party said.
I was first, when you start talking about this, I was thinking that like it must be a lot of stress for the agents to always have to decide. It's almost like a mini judge.
But it's without basically in ride-hailing, even without such decision-making systems, it's kind of always a difficult situation because you act as a small judge. Two-sided marketplace, they always said that other side is wrong. And it's very demanding to make so many decisions, and you can't be always fair, you're subjective. So we protecting our agents with taking off this responsibility to decide.
Presumably the agents are not always even in the same country that the right happened, right?
Not always.
That's additional difficulty. And how do you verify that like this process actually is working, right? Like if that is solving, I guess like ideally you would solve the conflicts in the right way, right? Like where was actually to blame, but there's probably no way to actually find out.
There is a way to find out, for example, with repeated behavior. So one of the metrics can be as like 0% repeated behavior. Of course, you can't always reach the 0% because it's not always possible in the real world. But if this metric is going down, then probably you're doing the right thing. But at the same time, as a two-sided marketplace, we're always thinking like if we unfair to our drivers, we won't have drivers.
Yeah, that's a very fascinating problem.
It's always like it's always balancing. Sometimes there's such type of behavior we can't tolerate, and basically here it's like any platform would not tolerate. But in other cases, it's always the level of uncertainty is very high, so you have to navigate.
Do you find that you need to kind of balance these decisions differently in different markets? For example, like if you're starting a market and you need the drivers kind of desperately in a new market, maybe that like the model needs to change a little bit, or not really? Like,
I think actually, and I think it's more of my personal opinion. I think it varies culturally because in every customer service is client expectations. Somewhere people expect certain behavior, and some markets people expect different type of behavior. What would be called rude in UK probably would not be called rude in another country.
Yeah.
So it's also this is also subjective.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. You start thinking about this, and like it's just it really seems like an unsolvable problem.
Yeah, it's very in different markets and in different company. I remember I was having a ride with a driver who and I told him that where I work, and he was complaining that all female passengers giving him very low ratings, and sometimes they write that he's aggressive and they felt in danger, but he wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And I started to try to explain him that the way he's talking to me, even right now, the type of intonation, the level of the volume, the level of emotions in his voice can be perceived as aggressive, even when he doesn't think he is aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a nice talk, but
Do you think it made a difference?
no, I think not. I think not, because it's very difficult actually to change the behavior. It's not impossible, but it's difficult.
Awesome. And Olga, can you talk maybe a little bit about kind of how? So in this case, you guys ended up using some AI to solve sort of like one of the problems, but not to handle the whole interaction, right?
Yeah.
Like still empowering the agents. How do you generally right now balance like humans and AI in customer service?
So basically, we're trying to automate everything, which is very all the easy cases where you can quickly give a solution, or just a person is in need of the information, or there is actually no two parties involved, and the case can be solved like easily without agent involvement. So here we're trying to give the customer what the customer needs, quick resolution. And in all the cases when there is benefits of having human touch, we give the human touch. But of course, we can empower the agent with scripts, with AI-empowered decision-making algorithms, with knowledge base and so on. And for ride-hailing, for example, because like support models are different. Some companies, they have scriptless support, and it's very important. The personal touch here will be even more important, and the decisions which agent is making will be more important. In case of ride-hailing, I would say the good scripts and the good procedures and this transparency is very important.
Yeah.
And I would say that here, actually, if you want to be fair, you have to be transparent, especially for the drivers who are who make their living by working with the apps. They need to know what types of behavior causes what results. So transparency and consistency here is a key. And you can't be, as a human being, you can't be consistent if you don't have scripts and procedures.
Yeah. No, especially you have so many different human beings, so many different countries and all that.
So here I'm like 100% for scripts, and where we can use AI to make it quicker, of course we do.
And so gradually, presumably, kind of like more and more types of tasks start becoming AI. Automated in some cases, assisted in other cases, right? How do you kind of make sure that, one of the problems we see in this space is, ultimately what people want is the seamless experience that you were talking about. Then people start introducing AI, and, support experience kind of becomes seamless, but it can quite often kind of mask that like the app experience itself is maybe not seamless, because some query is just like very easy to resolve, so you don't feel the pain and then invest in actually solving the pain. Do you see that problem happening at all, and how do you deal with that?
Actually, I think that this problem might happen but I don't think that a lot of companies are actually doing that. If you automate and never look what people are writing, which topics are you solving with automated solutions. I think that
you'd be surprised.
Interesting.
It's very difficult to look at kind of what are people talking about.
Interesting. It's like ultimately a carpet principle. So we covered the problem with the carpet of automation. It's not a problem anymore.
Well, it's just like no one is shouting, no one is upset. It seems like people are quietly leaving in some cases, but moving to a competitor or something. But you maybe don't feel like, oh, it's a giant pain that we need to solve right now.
We're looking at all contact reasons, no matter are they automated or they're not. I think it's the only way to have the holistic picture.
Yeah.
Because even if solving an automated problem takes you 1 second, it's still you like regularly have to. It's still a problem. You regularly have to contact the support.
And how do you then kind of decide like what to? Obviously, like you run the customer experience, but you have, I know, like a huge product organization, right? How do you collaborate with them on like what problems need to be solved kind of first? Is it like what people contact us the most about? but a lot of these are very easy to resolve, or the most sort of like painful problems that actually like are very hard to resolve for us?
I think it's
Bit of
always
both.
basically it's always a balance. Sometimes they're low hanging fruits, so you can easily resolve them and just forget about them. But basically, it's a ROI case. So what the size of the problem, how it affects the experience, what will happen with revenue costs if we don't have this problem. Things like this.
What would you say like in inDrive compared to some of the other companies you work with? In terms of like either culture or the processes, what do you do differently these days, like with all the experience you have?
Actually, it's very interesting how this fairness thing really runs through all the processes in inDrive, all the decisions, all the scripts. So here I really feel that this like value-driven company management is not for PR. Company actually builds business processes which are rooted into the core values of business model. You start with a very, very simple business model with a very big goal that you want to give people fair choice. And this fairness goes through all the decisions you're making. So you can't, for example, you can't develop rules for blocking users, for example, which won't be fair.
Yeah, fairness, I guess, is something like everyone kind of wants, but is very, very difficult.
Yeah. It's very
actually,
difficult to achieve because sometimes, for example, fairness also means that we won't force neither rider nor driver to go to a certain region or to a certain area. For example, in companies like Uber, it also depends, but when you usually are forced to accept the right. And once you accept it, you kind of forced to go where the route takes you. It's not the case in inDrive. So basically, you will see the bidding and you're very free to choose where you want to go with which customer.
Awesome. Okay. Maybe we can shift gears a little bit and talk about go to our very exciting customer experience hot take round. I'm going to read a few questions and you can answer something quick and short or expand your thoughts. Sometimes I'll follow up and so on. So what's a customer experience trend that you wish we'd retire?
I think everything around delight the customer.
Interesting.
Yeah, because delight the customer is so it's big, it's abstract, and I do believe that companies who claim that they delight the customer sometimes can't even deliver consistency. And also, what does it mean to delight the customer, and through which tools you are actually achieving it? For example, if you I've seen the cases when the goal of customer support was to delight the customer. For me, it's a little bit ridiculous because the best case scenario, you're never talking to customer support. I think it should not be about the delight. It should be about consistency and giving people what they expect to receive, what they came from.
That's why I love the world of customer experience, because you get some completely opposite perspectives from people I interview here on the show. A lot of the leaders we interview, they actually say that this is one of the most powerful techniques they have. But I think it's different industry to industry.
It's different industry to industry. If I were in luxury industry, I think I would go for delight, for amusement, for memorable. But also, I also believe that if you delight from time to time, but you're not consistent, it doesn't make sense. If you raise the expectations and you can't continuously meet these expectations, you're not delivering a good customer service.
I always say that for customer experience, you can't just have a playbook. There is not like one set of practices that work in every company, even sometimes in the same industry, you go from Uber to inDrive
Yeah.
to Bolt or something like it won't be the same because, as you say, like the values are different. The
Yeah.
product is fundamentally quite different because of the values and so on and so on. And so some things don't necessarily apply. And we quite often see some companies where you need to do a lot of this divide, and that's actually like how they succeed and how they build a brand that people absolutely love. And then some others where just because of like how things are set up, it's impossible to do, or sometimes even counterproductive.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And you need to know your customer.
Exactly.
Whether like the customer wants to be delighted in this particular sphere of the life.
And outside of maybe ride hailing, just to make things a bit more varied, what's a brand you think is killing it in customer experience? Who do you look up to?
I do love Amazon. I do love Amazon for, first of all, for consistency.
The seamless part.
It's seamless. It's consistent. I don't need to think whether I will have problems with returning something or not. I know the business model. I know that in case I will need to return something, there will be zero problems. And the speed of delivery, everything, basically everything. It's very consistent.
Well, Amazon, obviously is very well known as the company that focused on customer, one of the first ones that put customer experience at the heart of everything
yes, they did.
do.
And they changed, but it's not about being delighted or amused. It's about...
apparently it used to be at the early days, but right now it's kind of a lot more.
Yeah, right now it's a new standard. So basically, for one-day delivery was a delight and amusement when they were started it, and it was very expensive for them. But now that's a golden standard. You kind of expect things to be delivered so quickly if you order them from Amazon.
Yeah. My little pet peeve with Amazon is, I think now it's so hard to kind of like understand what product you want to buy there, because there's like, you enter anything and there's like 1,000 copies of brands you've never heard of, and it's, I see that they're doing really well, obviously, so it must be working, but for me as a customer, it always makes it like a little bit stressful to shop there, because like, I have to choose now from like 1,000 options, and I don't have no idea which one is which and why are they different.
And here in this case, I'm very simple. I see the Amazon choice. I like, okay, something was somehow presorted. I see your point. It's
No, for a customer like me who like really wants to know what they're buying, then it always makes the problem worse. Better that like you have so much choice and you have like 1,000 brand. Recently I was buying a stationary bike, and there was like 1,000 different ones, and absolutely no idea why this one costs like 3 times as much as that one, and so on. Okay, and Olga, what's one thing you think the industry still gets wrong about customer experience? I guess ride-hailing industry.
Ride-hailing for the customer experience. I think like one of most interesting things would be actually allowing ourselves to be more... I'm talking about all ride-hailing right now. What we were talking before, to be more open to customer complaints, because sometimes we can be a little bit blindfolded from market to market, that people's, for example, complaint rate on one market can be X, and on another one it can be Z. And we don't always know what is the okay level of complaints. And sometimes we think that we are accessible, but in reality, we are not accessible because it's not that convenient to contact the support. So it's always a balance between making the support contact convenient and being overloaded with those complaints which are not benefit neither the customer nor the company.
Do you think kind of like AI could be the solution to this
Yeah, of
problem
course,
to some extent?
definitely. So AI could be here a solution, the solution which will be giving information, because sometimes customers are asking you for information, which it were easier ways to get this information
Yeah.
for them. But
Yeah, for the customer. Yeah.
for the customer. So yeah, I think it's this race to reduce the number of complaints, which may be maybe like not always, like not fully the good direction.
Mm. And you started talking a little bit, and I realized I forgot to ask you in the main section about this. But something that I think always fascinates the listeners is like, what are some differences you see market to market that you operate? If you can talk about this.
I can talk about very, very general things. Like for example, the way people communicate. I would say that we are like more or less in Europe. We're used to our inquiries being solved in one touch. So you ask the question, and you get one message with all their answers, the solution, and that's it. And you never come back. Not all people are like this. A lot of markets, they value dialogue.
Yeah.
So they actually talk to each other. They start with single phrases, clarifying questions, and it's nearly impossible to solve this dialogue in one shot. Very different model, but we're kind of trying to operationally bring support to not to one standard, but to close standards. This one thing maybe. Also, it's also very fascinating that not on all markets people are equally comfortable with typing their questions. And here, voice to text, that's basically the next
the
next
gets
big
harder
thing.
with languages and
exactly. And sometimes it's just way more convenient to make an audio recording. But it's just it's one of the things.
I've started seeing a lot more of that. Even I'm starting to use voice a lot more these days because you just get a little bit lazy, especially when you're driving.
Especially if you're driving. And also the level of emotions, the tone of voice, it all differs.
Awesome. And maybe just to finish things off, so what was a recent interaction with a brand that made you think like, wow, this amazing customer experience?
Amazing. I have a very bad one.
Yeah, I'll ask you about that next.
Okay.
Well, we can start with the bad one.
Let's start with the bad one because it was recent and it was very, very vivid. Actually, it was Spotify.
Okay.
I love Spotify. I love the algorithms. I use listen to them. And it happens that I accidentally created 2 accounts. So basically, I'm listening Spotify from Apple ID on my phone, but I managed to log in on the laptop from my Google account. Also, which is it's very important and very not customer friendly that you can't prolong your premium on your mobile phone. You can't. You have to go into the web version.
Yeah, I think that part they know about.
They apologize about it. But what happened was basically it was absolutely crazy. I logged in on the web version. I paid for the premium. Of course, I paid for the premium from the Google account, not from the Apple account. And then there was 3 months when I had paid premium. But I was too lazy to do something about it, and I was listening to the music with ads because the account is different. And then I finally decided to contact the customer support. And the customer support told me that they can transfer the premium account from my Google account to Apple ID. But in order to do that, I have to open a different chat with support, log in there from a different account, and write to the customer support. So stay with me. That's a difficult combination. So I'm having one chat with the customer support where I'm logged in from Apple ID, and they already log in from Google. They verified me. Everything is fine. Person is amazing. He's there with me for 1 hour. And 1 hour. So operationally, in terms of average handling time, it's a disaster. But I have the second chat with the support where I logged in from Apple ID, trying to explain to him all the conversation I had in another chat, even having a chat ID, like all this data, trying to ask him, can we transfer the premium? And he's like, I don't have enough data to verify that you own all these both accounts. And we did not succeed because nothing helped. No other chat ID, no other bank statements about premium payment. And then I just gave up and told cancel my premium. I will just pay for it one more time. But honestly, for ordinary customer, I think the solution, let's just cancel the premium and you pay one more time, would be quicker. I spent 1 hour, but I'm kind of...
I was going to say, but you're in the space, right?
Yes, I'm in the space. I was just curious, and it never worked.
Never worked. Okay. So that's a systems problem, presumably, right?
That's a system problem.
As a professional diagnosing it. It's just that they don't have... systems don't talk to each other.
Yes, the systems don't talk to each other even within basically within one CRM.
Awesome. And maybe to finish on a positive, so what was one interaction? And it doesn't have to be with customer support; it could be just a brand. But was there an interaction that you really enjoyed?
I'm usually I'm really enjoy. I have a long story with Aura, and I really enjoy that every time. Sometimes the battery dies, and it always extremely quick until the next train arrives. Of course, I would prefer better not to die, but having it.
Well, I guess it.
Yes,
physics.
But that's physics. That's
awesome.
physics. But it's always very pleasurable.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I hear that that is a great brand that people really, really love. Awesome. Olga, well, thanks so much for joining us on How to Love a Customer. And then to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode of How to Love a Customer, please follow us on whichever platform you are listening and give us a rating and a review. And we'll see you next on the next episode of How to Love a Customer. Thank you.